Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Hurrah! Get some. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another amazing week here at the field op. Baby Friday, Friday night's Eve. God damn, it's almost the weekend, man. Well, for most of us who work, for those of you who work a regular 9 to 5 is the weekend, but those of us who are solopreneurs, we're always day on, stay on, like the Marine Corps, first in, last out. You know what I'm saying? But welcome back to another amazing week. We got a pretty good show to for you today. Shout out, I guess you could say, to my daughter, our newest college graduate from as a psychologist. She'll have a lifetime client over here. But let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. Hey, when was the last time that you had your financial analysis reviewed? Make sure that you're on target to retirement, whether you want to buy a new house, whatever short-term goal you want to go on a cool trip or whatever the case may be. Well, if you hit us up at meetthemoneypro.com, you go out there and get some really good information. Well, they'll paint a real picture of where you are financially. No pressure, no commitment, none whatsoever. If it makes sense, great. If not, we can, you'll leave out of that meeting 30, 40 minutes of your time with some really good tangible information that you can start implementing right away. So check us out, help us out, grow the analytics. Another thing that I've been doing too, I usually at this part I talk about, have you apply for your VA benefits and anything. Well, one thing that I started doing at no cost to you whatsoever is I've been helping veterans apply for the benefits. We had some really good successes thus far. I have some, and I'll be posting some, some reviews, so to speak, on TikTok on the people that I've helped out so far, and it's been pretty good. So if you need help or assistance putting your claim in, and you seem a little apprehensive because you think that the process can be a little bit cumbersome using technology and filling out the application. Not at all. At the most, it'll take an hour. Okay. The only thing that I ask is that you listen to a little bit to my spiel of now that you'll be getting your VA claims and benefits, now compensation coming in. That let's put some really good strategies together. That way, it'll benefit you, and that you have some type of pot of money at the end of the rainbow or in a few years down the road. So let's do some good with it with that money instead of just spending it away. And if you're in that financial crisis, we can actually put a plan together using that money, how to get rid of your debt, pay off your house, or anything of the sort that much quicker. Sometimes in 10 years, quite a few times, 10 years or less. So paying off your house as well. So getting out of debt, paying off your house, all that good stuff. So if this is something that resonates with you, go to meetthemoneypro.com, put yourself on the calendar. Let's talk a little bit and we can go from there. All right. Aside from putting your VA benefits, because in the end, you're the one who wins and you're the one who's going to get compensated. Or if you need to appeal or put something more in, and you weren't happy with the original, what the VA compensated you with, we can also take a look at other things. All right. So, and this show is also all about freedom of speech, right to bear arms, protect the Constitution, and all the good stuff that it brings as Americans. Then stick around and hear the show. Please pass me around. Let's share me on your social media outlets. Again, I do this all completely free. I do not get paid for this. As a matter of fact, the good folks at Sitchradio.com, who I highly recommend that if you want to get into podcasting or you want some mentoring and some coaching for your personal growth, your business, or whatever, I highly recommend you hit Brian Colburn. He's been helping me out, and the folks of Sitchradio.com have graciously allowed me to do this show through their through their platform. So check them out. They have an amazing other shows on there that you can listen to. If, let's say if you don't like this sexy accent, that's okay. Check out go to sitchradio.com and check out some of the other stuff that they have. All right. So I think that's pretty much all the pleasantries of the show. Uh, my daughter said, she likes history. I'm a bit of a history buff per se. I really love world history. American history is pretty cool. Don't get me wrong, but when I was going for my undergrad, I was actually going for a teaching degree with a focus on history, world history, because it's more broad. You get to know the history of other places, all that good stuff. So today we're talking about one of the most iconic battles in the United States Marine Corps and obviously American history. So it's the Battle of Mount Suribachi and the flag that was raised, during that battle. And obviously, everybody talks about that really iconic photo that was captured. And but what it took to earn that moment is some every service member should know. I mean, as a Marine, I mean this is embedded into us in boot camp. I mean, the raising the flag of Mount Suribachi, obviously, it was Clint Eastwood made an amazing movie, Flags of Our Fathers too. It's in regards to all the folks that participated and everything. Uh, and on the flip side, there is a movie from the Japanese side, Letters from Iwo Jima, which I highly recommend anybody here to watch. Again, this this show today is just it just isn't about the picture. It's about the reality of battle and the volcanic ash, the relentless enemy fire. uh Marines who were there, who fought inch by inch up a mountain that didn't want to be taken. I mean it's it was crazy. And again, the only way to get better and to prevent history by studying it. And those does sound somewhat cliche-ish. uh, you know, history. Unfortunately, history does tend to repeat itself, and it's like we don't even. Although we study it, and that we keep making the same mistakes. If you don't believe me, well, shit. Look at FEMA. I mean, thousands of reports have been done on their past mistakes and whatever case. And even to this day, I mean, nothing's been done on how to revamp the system. But that's a whole different podcast. So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about, I mean, the hell that was, they called Iwo Jima. I mean, this place is located in the middle of nowhere. When I was in the Marine Corps, stationed at Mount Fuji during the earthquake tsunami, and that's, man, I could do an entire podcast about working with Craig Kaczynski. He's been on the show, as a matter of fact. He was my CO during that time frame, and some of the folks here who listen to the show, Bree Hapkin, uh, and a shout out to everybody that right there at and Rick Saka. I know he's a huge supporter of the show as well. But I mean, I had a chance. Well, some of us did have a chance to go over there, and if any Marine here has had the privilege of going onto Mount Iwo Jima, Iwo Jima, please go ahead and put your comments on the show. I'll send you a link invite and you can jump on the show. And we could talk about your experience there. But it's in the middle of nowhere in the Mariana Islands in Japan. Uh, it was basically needed as a emergency landing site for B-29 bombers. I mean, it was a very critical point uh, to be used as a launch point for further assaults on Japan. Obviously, back in the day, I mean, they had to take all these long, launch all these flights from Hawaii and all that stuff. I mean, and for refueling options, logistical, it was a huge logistical critical point for obviously the U.S. to be able to, when Japan got involved. Obviously, we all know about what happened in Pearl Harbor and all that good stuff. Uh, and Japan knew it was a huge value and fortified it obviously accordingly. They fought tooth and nail for this piece of landmark because obviously it was very very critical. So from the enemy's advantage and standpoint, those believe it or not, and again, those of you who've been over there, the place is not that big at all whatsoever. But I mean, imagine having 21,000 entrenched Japanese troops, and under the charge of General Kuribayashi, who obviously, the guys was well known during that time frame, and in Japanese history. So, and just like we've seen it in Vietnam years later, I mean, they had a huge elaborate network of tunnels, bunkers, and as well as hidden artillery. It's, again, I've heard stories of people who've gone over there and gotten a chance to see just the place from uh, you know firsthand, and they it just it's very surreal and breathtaking at the same time. And just to think that you're actually standing in a piece of history, a landmark piece of history that was such a crucial point for the U.S. During World War II. And obviously, the fighting that and how everything happened over there. I mean, it was brutal. I mean, it was slow and brutal. I mean, it was just, I mean, a lot of carnage. There wasn't no front line, and I mean, it was, again, just, it was just, this whole thing was just a meat grind. I mean, so when the U.S. got there, it was called Operation Detachment. It was launched February 19th in 1945. I mean, it was a really long time ago, and over 70. So they had 21,000 entrenched troops. We sent over 70,000 Marines from Third, Fourth, and Fifth Marine Division when they landed over there. When they hit, when they hit the beach, right? There was a lot of volcanic ash, uh, and basically it made movement impossible. It was like walking on. It literally is walking like on coffee grounds, and obviously take into effect your 80 pounds worth of gear. You have these landing of amphibious vehicles, trying to beach themselves, and obviously, when you release, the ramp comes down, and some of them couldn't even make it to the land. So, I mean, a lot of people drown themselves as well, especially when you're carrying all that stuff. I mean, you're taking fire. I mean, you're getting blasted. So, I mean, on first, it was, and it says right here, beach landing was eerily quiet until the Marines advanced. Then basically, all hell in a handbasket broke loose. I mean, they were getting hit with machine guns, mortars, artillery. Fro- you know. I mean, it was like coming out of from the middle of nowhere, from all these concealed positions again. So obviously, the end, you never can take the enemy, and you can apply this concept pretty much in life and in everything. I mean, you never um, take the enemy from granted. What do I mean by that? Is that never underestimate that person, that individual, or whatever the case may be. I mean, literally. I mean, they you may get surprised, and maybe you get your ass handed as well. So, when the Marines land, hit the beach, and I mean, it was kind of quiet, and then just pretty much all hell broke loose. So think about that for a second, and then uh, just a quick story. I had the chance. Um, to go to Hawaii twice, but obviously, in the parts that we went on the first time, well, it was with my kids' mom and them, um, in a long time ago. I never got a chance to see like really volcanic beach and and basically how it, but years later, my now wife, we went to Big Island, and over there, just some of the beaches are just made out of volcanic, that volcanic ash and everything. And we were walking on it. I mean, I mean, it was just, I was in sneakers at the time, and just to get to the water, I had to walk through these lava rocks and everything else. I mean, just being out there walking around, my shoes got torn and just beaten up. So imagine you trying to crawl through this stuff. You're getting, and obviously you're in camis, your boots and all that stuff. I mean, I could only imagine, right? So, let me just tell you a little bit about the terrain. So, just picture yourself for just a second. Uh, the terrain it's 546 feet tall. It's basically kind of looming over the southern end of the island, right? and it's basically it's a dormant volcano, and it was turned into a fortress. So again, it was riddled. Not only was riddled with tunnels, but it also had pillboxes, snipers. Pillboxes basically it's a place where they put a machine gun. It kind of looks like a bomb. And I mean, they just firing at you, and obviously snipers all over the place, just picking away at these Marines who are trying to make their way up. You know, so there's a lot of tactical challenges that went with it. So imagine just advancing just literally yard by yard, just little by little and I mean you could pull up videos exactly while being shot at too. So imagine, you being shot at. I mean, and just basically, inch by inch, you know, fighting tooth and nail. I mean, you might as well break out, your e tool, your fork, your knife, all that stuff. You're advancing, and I mean, you can pull up videos on this stuff. Flamethrower. I mean, they're doing, I mean, flamethrowers. Um, satchel charges. That's basically, think of it as like this giant grenade, basically, and they throw it in this satchel that you fling over, and then you throw it inside these things. It's basically, think of it as one of these the landmines that you see nowadays, but basically it's inside a satchel, a bag, so to speak. And obviously at the bottom there's tanks, but it's not, when these people are entrenched and inside those tunnels, it's not really doing it. It's not really doing much. I mean, every cave, could house a sniper or a machine gun or a machine gun's nest as well. I mean, grenade duels were very common, during that entire thing. I mean, if you stop moving, you were basically dead. So one thing that, and I know Ken has been on the show. Ken and I went to boot camp together. Uh, you know, I don't know if you remember the whole little thing that we used to say in boot camp, but what is discipline? Discipline is moving, it's kind of like moving towards the fire by firing a maneuver. So basically, us as Marines, we're taught that you don't, because the only way to go forward, the best way to go is forward towards the fire, right? So obviously, I'm up, they see me, and down type of thing. But I mean, you couldn't do this on Mount Suribachi as well. But I mean, think about this. The casualty rate back then was 6,800 Americans killed in the entire battle. Thousands, and obviously thousands more were wounded. And the terrain, and basically, and dug in defenders made every gain, obviously come at really high cost. So, I mean, you got 71,000, just really pissed off Marines, and obviously we lost a lot of good people back then. And obviously there's a lot of great heroes came out of this battle. Back then was obviously Medal of Honor recipient, like Herschel Woody Williams. He was a flamethrower operator. Can you imagine? I mean, it's got to take, and I mean, just thinking about it right now, I mean, it takes a big set of balls. It doesn't matter, whether they're shooting at you. I mean, you're operating this flamethrower thing, and you watch it. I mean, you're burning human beings alive. And I get it, it's a survival. It's either them or me. But can you imagine after all is said and done? And I know that, and that's what they call that. Those people from World War II, like, the greatest generation. I mean, a lot of them didn't never even talked about, back then, PTSD or shell shock, as it was called back then. Nobody was very vocal about it. But can you I can't even imagine, what this person went through. I mean, just thinking about, his PTSD and all that stuff. Think about all the corpsmen, all our fellow devil dogs, as we call them, as a term of endearment. Just think about these guardian angels out there just doing their things, sacrificing themselves, trying to help out their fellow sailors, fellow Marines, being shot at as well. And how Marines had to adapt. Again, it's all about adapt and overcome. That's if you ever watch the movie Heartbreak Ridge, it's a great scene where Clint Eastwood, they first call some of the troops to this big fight in this mud and everything, and then Mario Van Peebles, who played a really shitbag Lance Corporal, but a really funny dude, Jones. he's getting thrown into this mud by these two other Marines from another platoon, and he grabs him by the nuts. Anyways, he wins, and Clint Eastwood said, you know, he adapted and overcame. That's what Marines do, right? Um, that's my gunny highway voice right there. But Marines have to adapt during that battle, during mid fight, learning to clear tunnels and bunkers basically with brutal efficiency. And again, it just goes back to a kind of shift when you're in combat. That mindset kind of shifts where, hey, it's fucking me or them. Actually, we dehumanize the enemy in order for us to. It's a psychological. It's something that those of you who deployed, uh, been in battle, and not even. I mean, you can see, a boxer does that. Just about any situation, we tend to dehumanize to some degree the person or the individual, or let's say you're slaughtering a cow, but we as humans, we just make this switch, uh dehumanizing or just making this thing. It's not longer an animal that whimpers or whatever. We completely change it, and turn off that switch so we can do what we need to do. You know what I'm saying? So something to think about when the next time that you're in a fight, you're like, fuck this guy. Again, they're no longer an individual. That's your enemy. That's your target. If that makes sense, right? So you know so as Marines are advancing, up this, glorified hill, right? uh there was two raising of two flags, for those of you that didn't know. The first flag was actually raised by a 40-man patrol, from Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines, right? But then Captain Dave Severance sent up the patrol, and a flag from a was from a well, on the first one was a flag from a ship nearby, right? And the flag was, there was like, oh no, it's considered too small, whatever. So, and it couldn't be seen from the beach. So, per per every higher up story that you can have, then they get this message from the higher ups, hey, we need to switch the flag. So, and then obviously that's when you see that second iconic flag, photo, or that video that you see on black and white, where and the people were Sergeant Michael Strank, Corporal Harlan Block, PFC Franklin Sousley, PFC Ira Hayes, Native American, uh, PFC Renee Gagnon, and PFC Harold Schultz. Uh, Schultz was identified much later that he was also part of that photo, right? Uh, and then obviously Joe Rosenthal, the guy who took the picture, he won the Pulitzer Prize, for capturing the photo during the second, raising. And obviously, and that photo became, back then, to raise money for the war effort. The government used to sell bonds, so that photo became the face of war bonds. Kind of like as a morale booster, as well as and for the Marine Corps itself. I mean, shit. Uh, it's still a symbol to this day. You can find it on every Marine Corps paraphernalia. No, and not to get a little bit ahead, but you know, there, and believe it or not, there was a lot of controversies back then as well. Oh, Ken, you've been there? God damn it! If you, dude, what if you have photos? Send it to me, or I mean, I can put you on the show, man. Oh man, so hey, fellow Devil Dog Ken Crenshaw, Corporal Crenshaw in the house. Ira, get some. Yeah. So my man got to, dude. I didn't know that. That's cool. But there was a lot of controversy behind, obviously, back then. Obviously, there was initial misidentifications of who was actually in the photo, who, who raised the flag, so to speak. Um, so, believe it or not, some were actually killed in action shortly after the photo was taken, as well. And obviously, there was those of us who've been to combat, and you've lost friends, you know, like Ira Hayes over here. There's a lot of survivor's guilt is what they call, or syndrome. So I was, and he had a lot of that, and obviously, PTSD, um, and just a lot of media media scrutiny during those times. It's a really good comment, bro. Uh, you know, so but I mean, I highly recommend that if you haven't seen that movie, Flags of Our Fathers. I mean, I always lose my shit, to some degree. We it doesn't matter. I mean, not to compare ourselves to some of those brutal battles back in World War II, but still, losing friends, coming back, and then telling the stories. Just it hits you. So why does it still matter? Why? Talking a little bit about beyond the photo and that legacy of Mount Suribachi. I mean, just like I was saying earlier, and the symbolism behind it is that it's used for the Seventh War Loan Drive. It raised $26 billion back then. Obviously, it immortalized the Marine Corps as and became a symbol of the Marine Corps War Memorial in Arlington, which I've been there. And if you go to the Marine Corps Museum down in Quantico, Virginia, which I highly recommend, not just because I'm a Marine myself. I mean, maybe a little bit of that part. However, it is an amazing museum, and it's got, I mean, all kinds of different war periods, even to this day and age as well. It's an amazing place to go. And instantly became as obviously, that whole raising of flags. It's a symbol of Marine Corps pride, sacrifice, as well as victory. You know, how was Iwo Jima's impact on the war as a whole? Well, um, over 2,400 B-29 bombers landed on that post after it was captured. It saved actually 25,000 airmen lives back then. It was actually a turning point in preparing for Operation Downfall. In other words, the invasion of Japan, and ultimately, it was ultimately unnecessary due to the atomic bombs. So, you can see it from many different aspects. Well, shit, we know we lost all these Marines, all these Americans, during that time frame, and only for us to drop the bomb back on Japan, the atomic bomb, which there were two in Japan, in Iwo Jima and Nagasaki. So we can see it from that way, or we can see it as well as, hey, a lot of war is also about psychological effort. So we can see it as well. It was a crucial point. We found a kink in the armor, and this is just kind of the downfall of the Japanese. Which, by the way, Japanese is you know, through history, a formidable foe. I mean, they just fought tooth and nail. I mean, and there's other many battles, in Japanese history that you can look up. You can look up also the Battle of Bataan. It'll give you a different perspective on them. I mean, pretty ruthless. But again, it's like the saying goes, all's fair in love and war, right? So what were some of the lessons in grit and sacrifice that we got from this? Obviously, Marine ethos, fortune, ash, and blood, right? Honor those who raised the flag and those who fell before it went up. You know, one thing about the Marine Corps, and maybe somebody here who's in the other armed services, I mean, even though we kind of banter back and forth, uh, but I mean, we're all about our history, our pride, um, what we did, and and just and I mean, we're big on our history. I mean, that's any Marine will tell you, who's the Grand Old Man of the Marine Corps. So history is a big plays a huge part in the Marines, right? So we use this moment to reflect on how symbols mean more when you know the cost, if that makes sense, right? So hey, let's do it for those who came before us. Hoorah, get some, do or die, all that good stuff, right? So, you know, again, revisiting history is how we prevent, uh, future mistakes for the most part. I mean, again, I use that very loosely because obviously, you know, sometimes history tends to repeat itself as well. And so you can see, And some of these things are starting to repeat itself in many different aspects, right? So, but we're not going to get into all that as well. So, what do I take from all this? I guess to recap our show today is, the battle for Iwo Jima, the climb up through and on Mount Suribachi, and the unforgettable flag that caught the world. It caught the world's attention, right? A huge turning point for the U.S. I mean, it was that call to actions for like, hey, let's do it. Like the Marines just did it. Hey, everybody, let's bond together. Common cause. You know, moving even more closer to home or to current time frames. If everybody, I served before 9/11 happened and after during that time frame, and it was just a different time frame. Nobody was, the world was kind of going at this, you know um not very motivated. Everybody was kind of uh thank you. But we just look at it as, the world back then was just very different, and then obviously 9/11 happened. It's kind of like the world came together. The cause was basically uh getting together, war on terrorism, moving forward, all that good stuff. Excuse me. It just brought us together, right? So, but every Marine sees that. When a Marine sees that photo, I mean, they feel a deep pull, not just about patriotism, but also a memory of where we came from and the things that define us. And then one thing that I'm going to start doing every month is talk about a significant battle that one of our armed forces was a crucial part of it as well. So, hey, if you got any good ideas, that Army, Navy, Coast Guard, whatever the case may be. I want to do a piece in that. So let's go ahead and throw the idea so that way I can start putting these shows together, right? So and at the end of the day, everybody is they didn't just raise a flag for glory. I mean, it was raised so their brothers down below knew the fight, knew that fight was not in vain, right? So we need to reflect on that and just remember those that came before us. I know we're getting ready to hit up some of these holidays during the year, but just remember that Memorial Day, we remember those who have who never made it home, right? So when you talk to a service member, it's like, hey, we don't say Happy Memorial Day. No, we don't say that shit. It's not, for a lot of us, it's not a happy day. For a lot of us, we lost friends in battle. We lost friends to suicide. We lost friends, in the line in that line of duty. So just think about that for a second, and because a lot of most of us who have some type of loss, for us it's just a day of remembrance that it's not a good day for us. So we just kind of tend to isolate. So if you have a loved one that lost somebody in the line of work, even first responders as well, just say, I know that you got an anniversary coming up. I know you lost some friends. I'm here for you if you want to talk about it. Just leave it like that. All right. So I think this is a good place to go ahead and index everybody. Again, I usually end the show too. If you've been ruminating or you need somebody to talk to and you've kind of gone into that dark hole, go ahead and hit me up at the show. I mean, I really mean that. I hope and I hope that one day uh somebody takes me up on it, because the last thing we want to do is just talk about it, remembering you, because you committed suicide, you took your life, where those scrappy periods could have passed, and we could have at least been helping you, talking you off the ledge and finding out solutions, because I know it's when you're going through that period, it seems as bad as it seems. I'm telling you that it's only temporary, and I'm talking for firsthand experience myself. So, hey, thanks for first of all, thanks to Corporal Ken Crenshaw for throwing some really amazing comments and some really good stuff out there. Since he's been there. I also want to thank you for helping the show. Please spread it around, let everybody know. And so, with that being said, everybody, thanks so much. Isamas, Daisuki. We'll see you next week, everybody. Ara, get some. Bye bye, everybody.